Right, okay, everybody, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have another Spinnaker review for you guys, and a little bit about them. They are a brand offering very classic nautical style design, aesthetics, in an affordable modern package. Now, in terms of this type of watch, it is a dive watch. Some key common characteristics and design language when you're looking for a diver. Of course, you're going to want water resistance, typically through some type of screw down crown. You're going to want something that's tough, legible with a dive time bezel, and a diver's extension is always nice if on bracelet. Now, this particular model is the Croft Mid-Size. It's the SP-5095-11 Granite Skeleton Automatic Limited Edition. Now, their kind of definition for this timepiece is it's that a bold timepiece drawn from the classic dive watch silhouette, which I think it absolutely does have, and of course a very popular colorway at the same time, and even a really kind of on-trend dial layout with the skeletonized setup there with a see-through dial, which I think is really great. And in terms of the watch, you know, it's really meant to balance and really just be a well-balanced timepiece, and you know, it of course has performance in mind and it's built for endurance, but also has a very unique kind of flair and its own character. So I think that's really interesting, and in terms of kind of the story behind the watch. But I gotta say, the watch itself is what really just draws me in. Now, these were just released as of November 5th. I got this one a little bit earlier thanks to Spinnaker to share with you guys. But essentially, this is going to go for $465 direct from the brand, and it is a classic size. I know they call it a mid-size, but it's a 40mm diameter, guys. So for me, that's not, I don't really think of that as mid-size. I think of that as the right size. So with all that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. All right, guys. Ooh, man. As you can see, this thing is a looker. Look at that dial. Look at that skeletonized movement in there. You can even see behind it. Look at my finger. A little bit of magic there for you. Very, very cool. And man, this is just a stunner, guys. I have to say, Spinnaker have really outdone themselves. This is a very handsome watch. Check out this profile there. Yes, there's a bit of a bubble back on there, but that mid case is strikingly thin, and you also do have that glorious beveled edge there. Let me give it a quick wipe here off camera, just so I can make sure that I'm presenting this just kind of in all of its glory. Look at that. Just fantastic. I even like the grip pattern here, the kind of dual stacked lines on the bezel. So very, very nice. But let's get back to the format here, guys. 40mm in diameter, 14mm thick, with a 47mm lug to lug on 316L stainless steel, brushed and polished, of course, for the case. And then for the bracelet, it's pretty much just fully brushed, and I'm not complaining about that at all. The crystal is a sapphire, which is outstanding, and you can see it does have a very effective AR coating, of course reflecting directly off of my studio lights. There's no level of AR coating that's going to be able to combat that, but it does give you just a touch of the different tones and tints that do come along with this particular AR coating application. But I think it looks quite handsome, and it does the job, because look at that dial. It is just so much fun. Now, in terms of the bezel, it's 120 clicks unidirectional. Ooh. Oh yeah. Slow and fast. This is nice. Oh man, and it lines up really perfectly there. Just a touch of back play, as you can see, if I really want to push it. But oh, now oh wait, did I overshoot it, or is it now aligned perfectly? Oh, it's now aligned perfectly with no back play. All right, cool, even better. Another quick wipe. Yes, this thing is sweet. I dig it. And the nice thing is the bezel insert here, it is a coated aluminum insert, but it actually is fully lumed. So the numerals as well as the 12 o'clock triangle are going to be able to, provide you luminance in the dark, which is nice. The movement inside is actually a Seiko Instruments NH70, which I haven't heard of, but it's apparently a really nice little no date movement that is also skeletonized, which is very, very cool. And you can see it has a very nice display case back. You can see the Spinnaker branded rotor there, which is great. You can see through this little area that's been fully skeletonized, which is nice. And then when it comes to this bracelet, you also get an actual diver's extension, very cool. And then milled folding section, push button twin triggers, and even a safety lock there. Very, very nice. I have to say, this thing is really impressing me. I mean, as much as I love, a dive watch, yes. A gilt, layout, even better. Red triangle. I mean, it has all these things that I really, really enjoy. But then it combines it with other things like this sweet little movement there and that look. So very cool from that standpoint, guys. Getting into the details of this dial, this skeletonized dial here, as you can see, no date style movement. You're getting brushed and painted hands, the brushed being the hours and minutes, and then the painted being the seconds hand. And you're getting Swiss Super Luminova, which we'll show you guys here come the low light transition and lume shot segment. But it does offer 15 atmospheres or 150 meters of water resistance or 500 feet, which will be absolutely fine for most anybody who's going to be just having water sports or doing any type of recreational diving. You'll be totally fine. Also 20 millimeter lugs, great size, solid bracelet, guys. You saw there's nothing hollow there, so very nice. You're also getting female end links. And man, look at the way the end links butt up, just perfect. I mean, this in between there, in between the lugs, I mean, the end link fitment is just, I mean, it's on point. It is spot on, guys. I dig that a lot. So big ups to Spinnaker. I'm very impressed with this piece. Honestly, I kind of looked at it as more of a novelty when they showed me some of the press materials, but having it in hand, I have to say it has a certain presence about it that I really dig. I mean, it just kind of begs to be worn, and as you're wearing it, it begs for attention. I mean, this thing just has so many fine little details to enjoy as you just take your time letting your eyes kind of graze and glance over every little detail. So very nice from that standpoint, guys. The bracelet does taper down 2 millimeters from 20 down to 18, and then although this portion is pressed, everything else is milled on the clasp, as you can see and saw, which is wonderful. This thing is sweet. So with that said, let's actually get it on the wrist and see how it wears. All right, guys, as you can see on my 7¼ inch wrist, this wears just about perfectly. Look at that. Loving the old school meets new school kind of juxtaposition there. It's kind of like when you see some really cool futuristic sports bike chopper mix up. I mean, there's just so many fun little elements there, just crossing and synergizing and pollinating into a singular aesthetic. And I think it's really cool. So you're getting the very vintageized vibes with the gilded colorway and the general big crown nature of the setup. And then you're also getting some very nice traditional flares and aspects by, just the trickery within that mid case. Look at how thin that appears on the wrist, right? Even though in actuality it's 14 millimeters thick, which isn't, absorbently thick for a dive watch or anything. But I mean, it's not a thin watch at all. But look how thin that looks on the wrist. Those undercuts, those bevels, the slope on the bezel itself. I mean, it just all comes together really, really well, guys. I am absolutely digging this a lot. And surprisingly, normally it's just like, oh, it's a cool watch. I like the colors. In terms of Spinnaker's designs, they're watches that are very cool, and I know there's a market for them. So I'm always happy to kind of, take a look at the occasional thing that kind of comes my way. But this one really, really is caught my eye, and I think in a more serious level. Like, this is not just something to appreciate for your guys' pleasure or for mine, at a different point in my journey. Even now with the watches I've experienced and owned, this I don't know. There's something very, very X factory about this. There's just something, some quality here that I'm really enjoying, that's really resonating with me. So with that said, let's actually get this off the wrist and set up some Lume shots, low light transition, and closing thoughts. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights here. As you can see, very nice Lume, guys. You're also getting fully loomed layout from the bezel. Not quite as bright, so let me hit it with the black light there just so you guys can get an idea. Oh, that's a little bit too much black light, but you can see there. Very nice. Does the job. Is it a Lume beast? By no means, but honestly, the charm of this watch is not in the dark. It's in the light, because that just the combination of the colors, the bezel, the dial, it's very cool. But one thing I like to work out during these Lume shots is also get in some low light transition, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of the times you'll be coming in and out of a building in less than optimal lighting, maybe walking underneath an overhang or the shade of a tree, or maybe just spending some time in your favorite automobile. So I like to show you some mixed lighting conditions, even some harsh lighting conditions here, very high contrast, which typically are going to expose any type of production defects in the finishing. But you can see the light is actually gliding over the brushing on the bracelet very nicely. I mean, not to anything like a luxury level, but that is still quite uniformly done in the brushing. And this dial, look at that. It almost has kind of a circuit board look depending on the way the light hits it. And sometimes it can even look a bit like almost like marbled surface, like on shredded carbon fiber or forged carbon, as the light kind of dances there, as you can see. Very, very cool. And the thing I actually dig is that it's still actually very legible for this type of watch. I'm glad they did that. I'm glad they didn't just go all in on the dial to where it's like the total centerpiece. You still have that great chapter ring, which is going to give you legibility and functionality when you're, trying to figure out what time it is, maybe underwater, or what time it is while you're in line somewhere, or waiting, you're at the grill or something, right? And you're trying to figure out the elapsed time of the last time you flipped your burger patties. So I like that it's actually quite legible still. I mean, you know, where the hours and minutes lay. Everything is just really well laid out from that standpoint. Now, closing thoughts, guys, on the wrist wears really great. The thin mid case really helped cut down the visual weight a lot. That combined with just how solid everything feels makes for a really elevated wear experience. And I think more so than I even expected, and more than I've experienced from Spinnaker in the past. Again, that case shape really makes it feel very, very refined and thin, but then you have this kind of hefty nature, and then it just comes together and it feels, you know, I guess premium, if you will. It has a very, very solid feel, which I dig. Now, in terms of model variants, there's the Hazy Sunset, which is going to be a bronze colored case with brown leather strap, or the Covert, which is a black coated case with a black leather strap, and then the insert on that is a little bit different. It's kind of a chocolate brown, so you're getting a bit of a different layout there. This is the one that comes on bracelet. The bracelet isn't bad. It does use, you know, push pin connectors, but it is solid. It has solid end links. It has a micro adjust clasp there, manual micro adjust, but it also does have a folding diver's extension, which is great. So you've got some options there. Now, in terms of comparable models, it's tough for me to compare this to anything else, really. I mean, I guess you could say, okay, Christopher Ward's doing some cool things with sapphire dials and everything within their diver line, but honestly, pricing wise, these are pretty far apart from each other. $465, I mean, that's nowhere near what you're gonna have to, you know, pay for something like this from Christopher Ward. Not to say that those aren't worth the money that they cost. It's just that this costs markedly less, which is nice. And honestly, in today's day and age, to be truth, more people might recognize Spinnaker than you know, at least within the average person. Maybe not the, you know, the watch idiot savant community. Your average WIS would, you know, totally know Christopher Ward, but you know, your average just person on the street would probably recognize Spinnaker more because Spinnaker sold in department stores, you know, like Macy's. So I would say that, you know, very cool from that standpoint. And guys, bottom line here, this is just flat out my new favorite Spinnaker, and it might even be their finest watch yet. Don't quote, you know what, go ahead, quote me on that. Just know that this is, you know, I'm recording this when I'm recording it, so they'll come out with something cooler eventually, but this thing is pretty darn nice. So let me know what you all think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do hit like, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.